Uh-oh, here I go again, starting garbage fires again. Hi guys, gals, gays, and theys. I'm Omnia, and today I'll be collaborating with the very special Thuman, whose art is playing in the background today, for a discussion on Blacktober from the perspective of two black artists. Thuman recently did a really great video on the controversies of Inktober and the creator of the trend, Jake Parker. She gives a lot of context as to why some artists are not participating in Inktober this year, and thus participating in other challenges like the challenge I'll be speaking about today, which is Blacktober. I'll link Thuman's video in the card and in the description so you can check it out for yourself. It's a great watch. I highly recommend it. Without further ado, I introduce the lovely Thuman, who will be talking about the nuances of whitewashing and blackwashing in relation to fictional characters.
Hi guys, gals, gays, and theys. I'm very honored and happy to be discussing this important topic with none other than Omnia, who I love and respect. I want to congratulate her for soon hitting 40,000 subscribers. You deserve all of them and a million more, so congratulations again. I love seeing fellow black creators thrive and have a voice on YouTube, especially in the art community, since I feel like we are few and far in between. That's why it's an honor to be here talking about something that really matters and affects both of us as black artists. Now, without any further ado, let me get into the topic of this video and explain to you the differences of whitewashing and blackwashing, as well as debunk some of the misconceptions surrounding blackwashing specifically. Whitewashing is the act of coloring an originally dark-skinned character with a significantly whiter skin tone. For example, coloring Nessa, who is originally a dark-skinned Pokemon gym leader with white skin. Vice versa, blackwashing is the act of coloring an originally light-skinned character with a significantly darker skin tone. For example, coloring Goku from Dragon Ball Z, who has a light skin complexion in the anime, with dark skin. Now, many think that both of these acts are the same and should carry the same stigmas, but I'm here to inform you that one is actually way worse than the other. The fact of the matter is that white-skinned individuals have an abundance of positive representation in TV and media. The same cannot be said for darker-skinned individuals. If we look at movies, TV shows, reality shows, comics, cartoons, and even games, it's very clear that the majority of the main cast usually have a white skin complexion, and that has been the standard for the longest time. If we focus on anime and Western animation movies specifically, you will also realize that there is a huge lack in representation when it comes to dark-skinned characters. Because of this lack in representation for dark-skinned characters, we are often forced to create our own representation in our fan art by race-bending our favorite characters from the shows that we enjoy. This is usually done from a place of simply wanting to be included. It's also done through fan art and does not imply that the original whiter skin color was bad. It's simply just creating representation for those that unfortunately don't have any. Now let me ask you a question. What purpose does whitewashing have other than erasing representation? In whitewashing, the whole point is to take a dark-skinned character and color them with a whiter skin. Since we only have a few dark-skinned characters to begin with, for someone to then take that one black character and color them whiter just comes off as malicious and unnecessary. It's important for you to understand that because of the little representation the dark skin gets, the black community usually becomes protective over the small amount of characters we are given. So if someone then decides to whitewash one of the few dark skin characters we have, it's common for that person to then get backlash for it since it comes off as racist or just rude. There is no need for that whitewashing since white skin already has plenty of representation to begin with. Some think it's hypocritical to allow one and condemn the other, but I hope that with this added context, you can realize the nuance of the situation. I said this before and I'm gonna say it again. Context matters when it comes to this topic. Simply put, whitewashing is erasing representation, blackwashing is creating it. They are not the same. It's not as black and white, no pun intended, as many would like to think. There is important context you need to take into account when discussing race-related topics. Our current world is very anti-black, and whitewashing itself has a long history of oppression and racism attached to it, whether you like to believe it or not. With this added context, you can realize that the two acts have very different implications, so calling them the same is just purposefully missing the point. Now, many have brought up the fact that race-bending characters from well-known TV shows is pointless since fan art is not going to increase the overall representation in TV and media. while I do agree that race-bended fan art won't be the solution to the representation issue, I personally see it as more of a temporary solution until things become actually equal in the representation front. The other option would be to just not have any representation at all, even in fan art, and to me, that sounds really stupid and counterproductive.
Hello, Editing Omnia here. Thuman sent me a message saying that she wanted to clarify this sentence since she worded it poorly. She said, I meant that the alternative to not blackwashing in fan art is that black people will continue to have minimal representation. She didn't mean to say that the other option would be to just not have any representation at all. Hopefully that clears that up.
Now there's the age-old argument of go create your own representation, but that is also kind of a stupid argument. Obviously, there are plenty of black creators that are currently creating representation in TV and media, but you also have to realize that the animation industry and even Hollywood is very gatekeepy and won't allow certain type of people to grow and have a platform. You also have to recognize that there are socio-economic disparities and wealth gaps that directly affect and reduce the possibilities of black-made projects to be pushed out to mainstream media. The limited amount of shows that have been created by fellow black creators usually don't get the amount of hype or marketing backing them up as our white counterparts get, which usually leads to them sometimes falling into obscurity. I personally do go out of my way to find these animations and projects and do my best to support them. Unfortunately, many don't do the same, and these projects sometimes fail to reach a bigger audience because of the unfair circumstances they are in.
I'm so sorry for interrupting again, but Spooksy, another black artist on YouTube, has made a really good video on some black creators who have diverse and amazing indie projects in the works. I'll link Spooksy's video in the description so you can support some indie black artists and allow more representation to reach the mainstream.
When it comes to race-bending anime characters specifically, a lot of people always say that these characters are already Asian and POC, which means that it's erasing Asian representation if these characters are race-bended to have darker skin. To that I respond by simply saying this: you might be surprised to hear that there are many dark-skinned Asians that exist too, and they are also suffering from the same lack in representation. Because of colorism and the beauty standards in Asia, it's commonplace for whiter and paler skin to be put on a pedestal. This has led to the demonization of darker skin complexions, which can be seen in the various skin whitening commercials that are rapid in Asia.
คุณรู้อะไรมะกว่าคริสจะมาถึงตรงนี้ได้การแข่งขันมันสูงมากจะอยู่ได้นานๆไม่ใช่เรื่องง่ายและถ้าคริสหยุดดูแลตัวเองเมื่อไหร่ทุกอย่างที่ทุ่มเทมาความขาวที่ลงทุนไว้ก็หมดไปเด็กใหม่ที่เข้ามาแทนที่อาจทำให้เรากลายเป็นดาวดับแค่ขาวก็ชนะใหม่ Snows กลูต้าเข้มข้นที่สุดผสมเมล็ดกีวีช่วยให้ไม่กลับมาดำเหมือนกลูต้าทั่วไปขาวนิรันดร์คริสมั่นใจ So Secret Snow.
The effects of this colorism is that the more whiter and paler your skin is, the more beautiful you are considered to be, and hence whiter skin is represented positively when their darker counterparts are seen as bitter, jealous, or dangerous. This has had an effect on the fact that majority of the characters in Asian media are presented to have paler and whiter skin, even though there are plenty of dark-skinned Asians. They still don't have enough representation for darker-skinned Asians because it isn't seen as beautiful or something worth representing, which is truly sad. I also think that in anime specifically, not all characters are automatically Asian, and some anime characters are actually ambiguous when it comes to their race.
Oh my gosh, last interruption, I am so sorry. The last thing that Thuman wanted to clarify here was that some anime characters are also explicitly portrayed to be Asian and their Asian heritage/culture is important to them and their story. For example, Mikasa from Attack on Titan. Her Asian heritage is significant to her character development and story, and in cases like hers, we don't think it's appropriate for that character to be race-bended. Okay, I'll shut up now.
I discussed that more in depth on my own channel, so if you're curious on my stance on that specifically, check that video out. Anyways, I've rambled on for way too long and I want to hear what Omnia has to say about Blacktober, so I'll let her continue from here. Thanks for listening, guys. Bye!
Thank you to Thuman for all of that amazing input. I really appreciate you explaining all the technicalities of race bending and why some people do it, whether that's for increasing Black, Indigenous, and people of color representation, or just because they want to race bend a character that they might relate with. There are many different reasons a person may want to race bend a character to a darker skin complexion, and I plan on talking more about that shortly. Now that Thuman explained all the nuances that come with blackwashing and whitewashing, let's talk more specifically about Blacktober and what it's all about. Blacktober is described as, quote, an October month-long event where Black creators get to turn their favorite characters into someone who looks like them. There's a prompt list provided, but anyone can make their own list or draw whatever they feel like on any given day. The event is meant to overall have fun, with putting a fun, representative twist on your faves, be it from anime, Western cartoons, video games, and more. The creator of the hashtag also states that Blacktober was created for any Black or mixed Black creatives, cosplayers, and artists of any medium, though non-Black folks can still participate by creating Black OCs and sharing Black creators' work. As a mixed Black artist myself, I have participated in Blacktober and have really enjoyed doodling Black individuals who are significant in my own personal life, like my cousin, as shown here. As fun as it has been for me, other people on Twitter have been taking issue with the hashtag in general, especially with folks who have blackwashed well-known lighter-skinned characters. One of the biggest examples of this has been the whole Black Peach situation, which first began when Kiana Mai, a biracial Black artist, drew Princess Peach, Daisy, and Rosalina with darker skin tones. While the whole Black Peach situation began in September, the debate about the whole thing has carried over into this month, as a lot of people participating in Blacktober have been drawing different iterations of Kiana's version of Black Peach. One disclaimer I want to make before I get into some of these tweets: as Thuman explained, one of the main reasons people blackwash traditionally lighter skinned characters is for representation, but that is not the only reason. As stated in the Blacktober post, some people like to blackwash characters to put a fun representative twist on their favorite ones, and to turn their favorite characters into someone who looks like them. These are reasons that I admire and respect. There are also some people who blackwash characters for reasons I don't condone, such as those who claim to fix lighter skinned characters to be darker, like Z fixes art. As I've stated in the videos I've made about them, I don't believe that any skin color should be fixed to be something else under any circumstances, whether that be turning a lighter skinned character dark or turning a darker skinned character light. Skin colors are not something we should be claiming need to be fixed, and anyone who claims to have quote unquote fixed a character's canonical skin tone after blackwashing it or whitewashing it is simply wrong. Alright, now that we got all that out of the way, let's read some of these problematic tweets for shits and giggles.
That epic moment when blackwashing is trendy and whitewashing is a sin.
Someone posted this amazing reply showcasing these two photos. I think these two photos really illustrate the point that Thuman was making earlier, which is the idea that blackwashing and whitewashing do not have equal implications. One is taking from the little representation Black folks do have and giving it to the heaps white folks already have, and the other is taking the heaps of representation white folks have to contribute some diversity to the little Black folks have. As Thuman already stated, blackwashing is usually done in fan art and doesn't actually change the skin tone of the character in canon, so while it's not a lot, it's still something, and that's what matters. As I was scrolling through Twitter, I also started to see a lot of tweets talking about how blackwashing isn't even a real thing, which led me to question why people were claiming that. As I started researching it, I found an article about it which said, quote, "The term blackwashing is a myth created by people angered by disruptions in the visualization of stories that have historically featured and catered to their identity. What is lost when a Black actress plays an orange alien? Nothing. What is lost when a white actor portrays a Native American or the King of Siam or a Japanese cyborg? Representation. An opportunity to be seen, an opportunity to tell a story with a different face. Whitewashing, on the other hand, is a method of preserving power. Anytime a white creator portrays a non-white character, that representative space is erased. And what about when non-white actors portray white characters? What's that called? It's called representation. How? When a non-white character is in a traditionally white role, they not only show that they are capable of exhibiting the same range of emotion expected from a white actor, they are also saying that this story, too, can be shared. So, in essence, Whether it's cosplay or drawing or acting, the term blackwashing, in finger quotations, is simply an opportunity to create space for marginalized groups, while whitewashing is actively taking that space away, which is why a lot of people claim that blackwashing isn't even a real thing. From here on out, I want to clarify that I'll be using the term blackwashing just so you know what I mean, but based on the articles I've read, I don't believe blackwashing to be a real thing. It's more so a representation thing than anything, and not something that actively harms another group, as one group is clearly more privileged than the other.
I really don't understand why people here are yelling and whining about characters being black. I mean, yeah, sure, they are originally white, but why in hell's name is it a problem if an artist draws them black?
Then someone replied,
Because if it were the other way around and the black characters were whitewashed, everyone would be fuming. It's all about putting a spotlight on the hypocrisy.
The question I want to pose is it really hypocritical though? The main issue I'm seeing is that people are equating blackwashing and whitewashing, claiming that the negative implications of each are equal, which is simply not true. One is blatantly worse than the other. Black representation and white representation are not on an equal scale as many like to believe. One is disproportionately lower than the other, and to equate the two is to further erase the struggles that black folks face in terms of media representation. There cannot be a double standard if the standard isn't equal. Here's a really bad example, and I'm warning you, it's a really bad example, but people who say that blackwashing and whitewashing are equally bad is like someone who claims that stealing something and murdering a person is equally bad. They should both have the same prison sentence and the same treatment. We obviously all know that those two crimes are not equal, so having equal punishment is not fair. That's why people tend to be more accepting of blackwashing than they are of whitewashing, because they are not equal, just as stealing is less heinous of a crime than murder. Obviously, I'm not trying to equate murder with whitewashing and stealing with blackwashing, but hopefully you get my point here. Here's the last tweet. Negrification beam. Retweet. As always, a big thank you to my patrons for supporting my channel each month. If you would like to contribute to my Patreon, the links will be in the description below. As little as $2 per month helps a ton, so please consider signing up to be a patron. Thank you to Sleepy Teacups for this very cute watercolor fan art, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about this whole Blacktober debacle in the comment section down below. I'll catch y'all next time. Bye!